Hey, welcome into the latest edition of Chalk Talk from the Denver Pioneers. As it is the middle of the month of December, we have hit the end of non-conference play in basketball, and we are headed into Summit League play. As crazy as that is, as the dynamic Chalk Talk duo is reunited for the second straight day. I am Tyler Maun. Doshia Woods, Denver women's basketball head coach. We got to hang out last night during halftime of the men's game, a DU win over UC San Diego, and now we get to do it again. And as I told you at the end of the interview yesterday, I'm just going to ask you all the same stuff today. What's going on?
All the same questions. How do we get so lucky though? 2 days in a row.
I know.
In person, in flesh.
I'm telling you, people are they're taking notice. They're like, we got to get those two.
Everybody's so excited, not once but twice. Like, what did they do to deserve this?
It's fantastic. You're all welcome. These are your holiday gifts. Doshia and I get to do more interviews together.
Yes, happy holidays.
We got a lot of good stuff to talk about. The Pioneers headed into conference play coming up on Monday in a place that is near and dear to Doshia's heart, Western Illinois, the first road game of Summit League play. We're going to talk about that coming up here in a little bit. But you wrap up the non-conference portion of the schedule, and 5-6, but a team that has played really, really well over the last couple of weeks, especially. Let's talk kind of in broad strokes first, something that I did ask you yesterday. When you look back on where your team was early November, late October, going into this season to where they are now, what are you happiest with the way this team has grown through its first 11 games this season?
As I said before, I think I'm happy with just our balance offensively. Uju's doing a great job of just leading us and scoring and rebounding. But I think having 4 players averaging close to double figures, I think Tess is at 9, and then you have Boyd and Jackson also in there. So I'm just really pleased with our ability to share the ball, and and especially the way we start the game, it's hard to figure out who you're going to really have to key on. Teams have tried to double team Uju, and then you have to, you can't leave Jackson, you can't leave Boyd, and then Santos to make some shots. So I'm really excited about that. And obviously India Sanders coming in and just being able to facilitate and find the score. So our balance offensively is probably what I'm most proud of. Again, obviously you want the defense to get a little bit better. But like I said, if we can score 85 points a game and hold somebody to 80, then I won't harp on defense as much.
And it's a fun style to watch too. And we talked yesterday about a game that I've got to ask you about because it got the Pioneers on national television on Sports Center the night that it concluded. And it was a 64-64 end of regulation score against the Butler Bulldogs in Indianapolis. And 4 overtimes later, you get to leave Hinkle Fieldhouse with a 100-94 victory. That game was insane. You were on Sports Center that night. We talked about it yesterday. You said you've never been part as a coach of a quadruple overtime game. And your team, the resilience to go into a road venue, force a team into overtime and then play 4 OTs and come away with a win. That's one of those benchmark games that it feels like going forward in a season, you can draw back and be like, hey, look at what we did that one night in Indianapolis. This adversity that we're facing now is nothing. Now that you're a little ways removed from that game, what were the biggest lessons you took out of it for your team?
You stole my word, and just the resiliency. I think anytime, we talk, we play 40 minutes. If we need 45, and it's funny, I've never really said 60, right? If we need 60 minutes. But, in practice, we do these 5-minute scrimmages, or a 5-minute scrimmage. And so for us, it was like, this is another one of those 5 minutes, another one of those 5 minutes. But, I think it's just a huge credit to our team to just find a way to keep digging. And, you talk about different players having to step up. We talk about our bench not being very big. And so you never know when it's going to be your night, when your name's going to be called. And, for that night, it was Cheyenne Forney, someone who hadn't played very much for us, right? Had some sparing minutes here and came in, and just with her size and her length, they had a big kid that was shooting like 70% on the year. It's just phenomenal. And so we knew we were going to need her a little bit. And I didn't know I was going to need her enough for a double-double is what she finished with. So, it was really just a fun moment for our team. And it was great being on the winning side. So you can continue to talk about those lessons and play that long and not get the ultimate reward of the win at the end. So I was just really proud of our resilience. I think earlier in the year, we had some games where we didn't trust that we could finish it out. We'd get down and had a hard time getting ourselves back out of that slump. And that's what I was most proud of with the game, was kind of game of just runs. And we just were able to withhold and withstand everything that they threw at us.
Cheyenne Forney, the highlight play that we're going to talk about from that game, India Sanders hits the three-pointer in triple overtime, but Cheyenne gave you the game-tying layup in the first OT, game-tying layup in the second OT. She was fantastic in the fourth overtime, but that third overtime, you do get that three from India Sanders, and it's kind of the dream play for any kid, counting down a clock, taking that shot, knocking it down in a big-time moment. And the sideline celebration, Nico Blankenship, our SID for Women's Hoops, is going to throw this into this Chalk Talk video.
Oh gosh.
Give us the play-by-play of the sideline celebration, because I know that blew up.
It did. And I honestly, India isn't one who shoots for us often. And every time I told everybody they had the green light till we get the conference play, then I've had individual meetings and kind of explain whose role is what. And so that whole game, I was like, you can shoot, and unless I tell you to stop shooting, keep shooting. And so she was hesitant and she missed a couple. And so I don't know, I think it's maybe the end of regulation, maybe, or the first overtime. We didn't necessarily get up the shot and the ball's in her hands. And I remember I was so frustrated, we'll say. And so when she got the shot up, I honestly wasn't expecting it. So I have a few people text me, it was like, how do you still get your knees up that high? And I'm like, I don't even know what happened, what my reaction was. And we all were just, because of who it was. If Boy hits the shot or Jackson hits the shot, you kind of expect that, but it was her. So it was just, I was like, I definitely lost a few pounds, I felt like, on the high knee celebration. Yes.
The exhaustion of a 4 overtime game, like after the third overtime on the sideline, did you just have the thought, like, what if we never go home? But this game just continues forever. Like, how at that point, especially we talked last night, you don't have the deepest bench right now. You got 10 healthy bodies. Like, at some point, I would think an exhaustion and a stress level sets in of like, how is this thing going to end?
Yes. And especially for us, how we want to play, we like to get a lot of possessions. We like to run the ball. And so at this point, I'm thinking they don't have any legs. Jackson played 58 of the 60 minutes. Boyd played 52. I think Uji played 49. So, everyone's playing a lot of minutes still, which would normally be just 40 minutes. And I'm trying to think, do I want to slow it down? I want to push, because they're also tired too, because they're trying to keep up. So definitely a lot of thoughts going through my head. And, back to your point about Cheyenne making those plays, I give Juice a lot of credit because the plays were for her. And I told her, people give LeBron James a hard time because he's not the, Kobe, Michael, give me the ball. I want to shoot. He always makes the right play. And that's what I thought she did in that game. She finished with 8 assists and, through double teams, through triple teams sometimes, but she made the right play. And I give her a lot of credit for even trusting Shy enough to make that play and not feel like she has to do everything for her. So she was a warrior for us that night.
You talk about assists, and that's something that we talked about last night with how that category tells a good story for your team. When you've got a lot of assists, it's more than likely a good night. And especially having to manage minutes and having to manage workload for players right now. India Sanders is a very good example in the fact that she started a lot earlier in the season. You've been bringing her off the bench. She can contribute some big minutes in stretches where you need some fresh legs. What has that been like, especially through the last couple of games in non-conference play, getting yourself set up for a little bit of a break before you start on Monday at Western Illinois, managing these minutes and also having somebody like that who can inject some energy? She played 47 minutes in that game, but when you have her as an option to go to as a reserve or as a starter, it seems like it provides a very good dimension for you guys as a staff.
Absolutely. I had a chance when we were in California to talk to her and Michaela, and I just said, just kind of depending on our opponent, I think now at this point in the season, we kind of have a decent rotation, if you will. And, just depending on what we need, if we need size and somebody to kind of defend and rebound, they know Kay is going to get the nod if we need another ball handler out there. And both of them are just great, handled it very selfless, obviously still going to get in the game and play. But I think Indy brings a lot of just her experience and being able to, I know she's getting comfortable with our pace and been able to push it and being okay with shooting the ball, right? You don't have to just be out there and facilitate the whole time, but she's a great asset coming off the bench because she brings a different level of just maturity to the point guard spot. Tess has been starting that point guard and she's almost like a makeshift. We have that's our bigger lineup, but definitely give Indy a lot of credit for her leadership and how she's able to come in and impact the game, both with her energy and ability to pass.
Doshia, for the next step in this season now, you've learned so much about your team over the first, 6 weeks of this campaign. Now you dive into Summit League play, and you get to go back to a place where you played as a college athlete in Western Illinois, and a place where you're so familiar with the community. And Western's got such an impressive history on that side in the women's program. The men's program obviously has been very successful this season as well. But for you going back there last year, and this is something we touched on yesterday, you got to go back there, but there were no fans in the building, and so you saw some people who you know from your time at Western, and got to be around the facilities and being back in Macomb and all that. But this year it's going to feel different. Tell us about kind of what we talked about last night. You're going to have fans in the building, and you're going to have people that you remember from your time there. Now you're going to be on the other side wearing the other colors. But how much of an emotional impact is that going to have? Being back there for the second time as a head coach, but really kind of the first full time now in an era where we get to have fans back in buildings.
I'm definitely excited to have fans. I think, a lot of Macomb is a small community. So a lot of those people that supported me when I was a player and coach, they're still there. They are diehard Leatherneck fans, so I don't expect them. I think they're going to be cheering for me personally, but definitely cheering for the Leathernecks to win. I'm just excited. I know that a lot of them were instrumental just in my growth as a person and as a player. And I say this often, that every day I show up, it's my goal to work hard, but it's more of a thank you to those that have helped me get to this point. So I'm excited for them to just to see. I think it's going to be funny because the type of coach that I am was definitely not the type of player that I was. The passion is still the same, but as a player, you got a lot more control because the ball's in your hand, you can get a stop. And I think they'll probably be shocked at just how patient I am on the sidelines. That's what the players kept asking me this week during our individual meetings. Like, how are you always so patient? And I don't know, it's like, I see the kind of stress on their face. So it honestly calms me down in some ways, but yeah, I had a lot of great times in Western Hall. I'm excited to be back. Definitely looking forward to fans because I'm going to be excited to get the win in front of fans. Last year we dropped both games and it was actually my first technical. All the games I'm in there, right? As a player, as a coach. First game as a head coach, or second game I get a technical, and I was like, at least let me make it a memorable one. Like, geez,
get your money's worth at least.
Right, I didn't even get my money's worth. It was just like, it's my sarcasm. I need to work. I've tried to work on it. It's my sarcasm.
Well, you get Western on Monday. Wednesday, you travel to St. Thomas. And I know you're focused right now on the Leathernecks. They're the first game up. But you'll have your first matchup with the Tommies. They joined the Summit League for this year. What do you know about that program? They're making a big jump, D3 to D1. And they obviously are in that transitional phase right now of joining a conference, getting into conference play for the first time. What do you know about that program going in? They're kind of the unknown on the schedule for this year.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it, right? The unknown. I think, this is my 21st year coaching. So there's Division I, Division II, Division III, and like different levels. People are there for different reasons. And I think for them, really just the Division I game is just different. So trying to adjust, and some styles of play work at some levels and some don't at the other levels. I think they're going to be completely opposite of Western. I consider this road trip like a Omaha Denver road trip. I joke with Carrie, we might be the worst road trip because our teams couldn't be more opposite. And that's kind of how I feel. Western plays very similar to us. It's just going to be a matter of which one of us is going to be making threes. And St. Thomas is going to slow the game down a little bit and probably be more Omaha-like. So I'm excited to see what they bring. And it's been a different area, especially recruiting-wise, that we can get up there now. And now there's not one Division I school in the state. There's two. Now St. Thomas can say that. So I know the styles are contrasting, and that's what's going to be difficult about the road trips is just, two opponents, almost back to back, but two completely different styles of play. So I'm going to be excited to see how we respond.
Pioneers will return home coming up on December 30th to take on Oral Roberts, and then New Year's Day against Kansas City. So you got a little bit of break before the start of conference play. You'll play on the 20th and the 22nd, then another little bit of a break before the 30th. And in between all of that, we've got the Christmas holiday. And I know off the court, you guys are always working on being the members of the community that you want your program to be. Last year, you adopted a family for Christmas. This year, you're doing the same thing and partnering with with the Action Center in Jefferson County. And it's something that you can tell really means a lot to your players. It's not just here's a social program thing that we want to be involved in for our program and, community action stuff, all of that. They really take this stuff very seriously. And it's really cool to see, especially around the holidays, what it means to them. Tell us about, kind of last year doing this. I know it was something that you established and said, this is what we want to do every year around this time of year. We're going to have a feature on this during the next men's basketball telecast as well, with some conversation with some of your players. But take us through what this means to you, to your staff, and obviously to your players.
Yes, I wasn't expecting this question, but thank you.
I like to hit you with the hard-hitting ones.
Yeah, I know this is hard. I first want to thank Shane and Nico for coming out and just filming it. It's not something that I wanted to do necessarily for the publicity. It's, as I told the team, and I told the team last year and this year, growing up, I was that person that my family, we were on Section 8, we were on welfare. So we always relied on these type of programs for a holiday, for Christmas. And I remember my brother, sister, and I would always hope we got a good family, or hope that someone adopted us. And if they didn't, then the Salvation Army would kind of just fill in, so we'd have something open. And I said, if I was ever in the position to kind of give back, to make sure, at least for that day, somebody could have a great Christmas, I was going to do so. And I'm fortunate to be in that position. And so last year, when I presented it to the team, we just kind of left it open-ended, give what you can, or here's the list, and buy a gift. And so it's been cool for our players, because both times this year we went and delivered. We haven't met the family. That's not how the program's set up, but we went and delivered the gifts. And I think for them just to see how much the Action Center does for those in need, and just how far their gift is going to go. We only did one family this year because of timing, but definitely going to look to do 2 to 3 next year. And I'm just so proud of our players, because we got everything from $5 to $100 that our players donated of their own money, or just gifts that they went and got, and just a pride that they took. One of the little girls asked for a Nerf gun, and I think we ended up getting 3, because everybody was wanted this style and wanted that style. So I think it's just a fun way, and it's a great time for us around the holidays, just to remember that we are fortunate to be in the positions that we are, whether all my staff or even our players, just in terms of having this opportunity to compete at this level and get their education. So anytime that I can kind of put our players in a situation to give back and be grateful for what they are, and to be a role model to someone else, I'm excited to do so. And as you can tell, I'm doing my best not to get emotional, but this is something that I said will be a staple, just because I know how much it meant to me as a kid, and to just think Christmas Day, to be able to put a smile on somebody else's face. And so when they go back to school, they actually have something to talk about, like we did get gifts this year, and not have to be embarrassed. So I'm just really proud of the way our program was able to step up in that area.
That is really pretty amazing stuff. It's I'm doing my best not to get emotional too, but it's especially at this time of year, is just something that means so much more. And it's so cool when you see those moments where college athletes step outside of their own boundaries and realize oh, this is so much bigger than just what we are or what we have here. And it's pretty incredible stuff. And it it always all comes back to basketball. And as soon as the holidays are wrapped up, you guys will be back home inside Hamilton Gymnasium for your first couple of home games in conference play. Tell us about just, final question, these early games in conference play to get settled coming out of your 11-game non-conference slate, get acclimated to Summit League play. What are you most excited to see from your team over these next 4, the first 2 on the road, first 2 at home?
The continued growth offensively, like I said, Tess is right under 9 points a game. I told her our goal is 10 in conference play, and then maybe to get Indy up closer to that 10 mark, because obviously we like to play fast. We want to score the ball. But defensively, this is an area we'll continue to work on. I'll continue to harp on it. I know people may not believe me, but we work on it. It's on the practice plan. We do spend a lot of time on it, but the last couple of games we have rebounded the ball a lot better. And I think to be able to finish plays like we have, starting conference with the 2 games on the road, and then UMKC and Oral Roberts here. UMKC and Western Illinois are probably 2 of the hottest teams right now. So I'm excited, just to kind of see, what they're coming into conference with, and just everybody's had different types of schedules, and I'm proud of the schedule that we've played. I know that it's been challenging, and it's only going to make us better. But I think our growth defensively is what I'll continue to look for. And if we don't grow in the ways that I want, then we'll just try to get up 85 points again.
Hey, that's a fun way to do it too.
Yeah.
Pioneer basketball head coach Doshia Woods says Denver is on the road at Western Illinois to start Summit League play, and then at St. Thomas, and then back at home. You can get your tickets now at denverpioneers.com for the Pioneers against Oral Roberts and Kansas City. And so good to see you for the second day in a row. Yesterday we got to do it in person. I said we'll have to do it over a Zoom screen again tomorrow, but here we are. It's still just.
But I feel like I have the carryover from yesterday.
Exactly.
Like, I got to see you. Actually got the like
the momentum
like
of the
eyeball to eyeball.
Right. It's what a novel concept in this weird world that we inhabit in 2021. Doshia, good luck on the road. Enjoy the trip back to Macomb and up to the Twin Cities, and we'll see you when you guys get back.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. Go Pios.
Go Pios. Wrapping up this episode of Chalk Talk. We'll talk to you next time with the Denver Pioneers.